Welcome to Gibbo MMA, reacting to the UFC 315 Montreal card. Jack Della Maddalena and new welterweight champion defeats Belal Muhammad by unanimous decision. And wow, proud moment for Australia. I've actually just had a cigar to celebrate. Jack, who was from Perth, King of Perth, you should say. And West is best, is the old saying. And Australia's population is about 80% is on the East Coast. So, put a bit of respect on the West Coast now with their new champ, who is entrenched in history now. He is now the 4th Oceanic UFC champion. He's now added to the list with Robert Whittaker, Alex Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya, and now JDM. And initial thoughts on the fight. I thought Belal, he didn't start off too great. I thought he would have had more high pace. He came out more reserved. Thought he was going to pressure JDM against the cage a bit more. But Jack just circled, used that jab, head movement, and really made it his fight. To begin with, the walkout from Belal was quite uncharacteristic. He was dancing, moving the hips, smiling. It was good to see. It looked like he was really confident, but it didn't really translate to the cage a whole lot. But begin with the first round, really close. As I said, Belal just came out pretty reserved. I was thinking it's 5 rounds. He's coming off a long sort of layoff injury. And Jack just looked really sharp to begin with. Again, really close, 48-47 across 2 judges' scorecards. And then one judge had it 49-46. And we're hoping to see Belal use those Canelo boxing hands like he said. But what was Canelo like was Jack's head movement. He was bobbing and weaving. He wasn't scared at all of the power of Belal. Like, there was just punches thrown. And you could tell he could just see them and he just took it. He just really didn't care and had any respect for Belal's striking. He just ate it and just kept moving forward. Moving into the round 2, I think JDM edges it. Great takedown defense. Again, that slick head movement. It was really like, I was thinking he was going to be just back against the cage, circling, defending takedowns, but it really took place in the middle. It was a really entertaining fight of the night. I was, you got to give Belal credit. People think he's boring. They joke about his nickname, remember the name, and don't really remember it. But no, I thought it was a really entertaining fight, and hats off to Belal, even though he lost. But I really thought, he showed out. It was entertaining. Takes 2 to tango. And moving to the 3rd round, it was competitive again. Both just landing shots. Belal took it good. You got to respect his chin too. He took it good. He had been knocked out early in his career, and I was thinking that was going to be JDM's way to victory, was just getting that knockout. Of course, he got that decision, but he was catching Belal, and Belal's chin was, pretty durable, which was good. And then round 4, taking shots again. Pretty impressed by both guys. And just looking at the official judges' scorecards, so round 4, they all gave it to Belal. Believe he would have got a couple of takedowns in that round. He got 1 takedown. But he didn't do much with it though. Like, he got him down, but JDM was able to get back up. And then that 5th round, JDM and the damage, he was just laying on him. I thought he was going to finish him at one point. He just kept smacking him, kept drilling him. Belal just took it like a man. You could see at the end of the fight the damage, the blood, the swelling. Belal did get, I'll just check the stats, 2 takedowns in that. Yeah, he got 2 takedowns in that round, and the judges all gave it to JDM. So you can see damage does beat control time to takedowns. So damage always prevails, which is good to see, because after watching a bit of UFC, you just, I don't know, you just don't know what the judges are scoring in the fights. Like, it should be damage, but you just get some judges that are like, with optics of a takedown, just give it to the grappler. And it was good to see in an MMA fight being scored, how an MMA fight should be scored with damage. And yeah, JDM absolutely was piecing him up. He got taken down, but he got back up. Nothing was done with the takedowns. There was a bit of control time with one of the takedowns, but it wasn't anything. It was only for like 30 seconds. And what was great about JDM was he was showing signs in that 5th round, was he was showing signs of that, you know, that want to win like any way possible, and wasn't going to settle and give up like he did in that Gilbert Burns fight in the round, you know, 3rd round. He needs a knockout to win. His corner's just yelling, "Get up, get the fuck up." He gets up and just gets that knee on Gilbert, and then, you know, buzzer beater knocks him out. And that's what you saw again in that 5th round, that championship stuff. He gets up, pieces him again, and then and wins that round. So yeah, it was great to see the judges sticking to the criteria and not giving into those optics of a takedown, like, oh, you got a takedown, okay, it's all right, we'll just give him the round. So yeah, so he did get that round scored. JDM did get that round scored for him by all judges in the 5th. And so NU, and I believe the first Australian to get that UFC welterweight title. So yeah, he's entrenched in history, JDM, and it's pretty great to see a young kid from Perth, you know, in Australia. As we all know, like, everything kind of happens on the East Coast. Like, not much is really doing over on that West Coast side. You tend to forget, but you know, he's really putting that state and that city on his back. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. One thing to note was he had Craig Jones in his training camp and in his corner. If you don't know who Craig Jones is, he's a jiu-jitsu world champ. I believe he's a world champ, but he goes in to these camps like Volk. He was in Volk's camp for the Islam fight, and just teaches him how to get back to their feet, how to defend those takedowns, or when they're on their back, how to escape. A lot of those escape techniques to neutralize the heavy grapplers. It's quite a character, Craig. He calls it Mexican ground karate, and and it's worked for him. You know, it's worked in this fight as well. It's neutralized that heavy grappling style, and definitely a lot of credit needs to go to Craig. He kind of just, you know, gun for hire for these Australian fighters. You know, come to my camp, teach me all these moves and, you know, your philosophy on with your jiu-jitsu to neutralize these Dagestani wrestlers. And so what happens next for JDM? So the big thing that was weighing into this fight was, if JDM wins, Islam will move up to fight him, because Islam didn't want to fight Belal due to the relationship they have with Habib and, you know, their brothers, Muslim brothers. So he didn't want him. So Belal won, Islam wasn't moving up, which looks to be the case. JDM versus Islam. And there is supposed to be a card in Perth this year, and it was supposedly supposed to be a fight night, but it could be moved to a pay-per-view, and they'll have JDM versus Islam, which will be, you know, that's gonna do a little pay-per-view buys, you know, sell out at the RAC arena in there in Perth. The last big notable fight that we all know was Volk versus Islam there. Volk couldn't get the win. It was one of the greatest title fights of all time. It was for double champ status from Volk. He didn't get the wins, and in the octagon, JDM calls out Islam because he wants to avenge Volk, and I believe that is the next fight to make. But if Belal was to win, then it was just going to be probably him versus Shevchenko, who is the number one contender, who was out due to injury and wasn't able to do this fight. And a lot of fans with JDM winning, some aren't happy because they wanted to see Ilya versus Islam for that lightweight belt. But it looks like Islam will face JDM, and then Topuria versus Charles for the vacant lightweight title. Which, I think this will play out pretty well. Topuria versus Charles, say Topuria wins, and then Islam moves up, and say he loses, then it's Topuria interim champ versus Islam for the undisputed at lightweight. So I think it's going to play out pretty well. I think the fans win in this scenario. I think this is a great case. The loser in this scenario, I definitely think, is Shevchenko, because once he's healthy, he's the guy who's next in line. But with Islam wanting to move up, I think the storyline with Islam being Volk, the Australian, JDM wanting to avenge him, I think that's going to be the fight to make. And then Shevchenko's just going to have to wait or, keep busy, fight someone else. And Belal, what's next for him? Well, Kamaru Usman's been talking a bit about him. He's got Joaquin Buckley to face Usman, so if he can get through Buckley, I think Belal versus Usman would be a great fight. Ian Gary thinks he's next. He's always there. He's a good dribbler. He's going to think he's next to fight, but because he was the backup fighter, he weighed in, 168 pounds. And he only fought 2 weeks ago against Carlos Prates. But yeah, I think Belal versus Ian Gary or Kamaru Usman would be great. But yeah, it's, I kind of feel for Belal a bit. He's 36 years old. And everyone was going about Volk being 36 and how, no one below the welterweight class has won a title fight or something who's 36 or 35 and over. And Belal heading into this fight was 36, and I didn't hear anything about his age. And yeah, the stats really showed up for this fight with him losing. There was nothing going on about his age. I think purely because he's just this is his first title defense, and they think he's still hasn't got that mileage on him. But yeah, did age really play a part? Because, starting off, he looked he didn't look like the high-paced fighter that he usually is. And yeah, I was really expecting him to really pressure JDM against the cage a lot more. Maybe he was scared or was reluctant with JDM's hands. He just didn't really want to engage or get in too close early on. And it looked I'm just wondering, because he did have that foot injury and that layoff, he just wasn't conditioned as well, bit of rust. But yeah, I did, JDM was not a heavy underdog, but paying $2.50, that's a considerable underdog. And got a unanimous decision. Another great moment in this fight was JDM's corner. I don't know if it was Ben Vickers or one of the other guys, after the 4th round heading to the 5th, he just says, stay focused and keep pinging the cunt. If you're not from Australia, that's just pretty much just keep your head on a swivel and just knock them out. Like, it's pretty straightforward. That's really as a way of Australians communicate. That's nice and straightforward. Yep, yes, I got it. And he really absolutely did that. He went into that fifth and just started laying it on him. And yeah, that really sealed the fight for him. And yeah, there's a method to the madness, and some of the words Australians use don't always come across as can sound quite vulgar, but it's pretty straight to the point. We get it. There's no hard feelings towards it. And yeah, I think Jack should be pretty happy with his coaches, and that was the same going in with that Gilbert Burns fight. They're just like, you need to knock him out. And while he was in that third round on his back against the cage, they're like, you need to get up and knock him out. You have to. And that's what I think JDM does have a point of difference compared to a lot of other fighters, is he's finding ways to win. He's finding buzzer beater sort of moments, finding ways to win. And that's a big deal in competitive sports, is finding ways to win, even when you're not in the best position. And you can see that he's really mentally strong, and to be able to do that and trust his training, trust his fitness, his cardio, his skills, to be able to make, to be able to, clutch it in those moments. Now, I think that's enough with the main event. We can draw back to it, but going to the co-main, we had Shevchenko versus Maignan Fiorot. 48-47 unanimous decision to Shevchenko. That was a great title fight for the women's flyweight division. Shevchenko, one of the greatest women's fighters of all time, just did what she did best. Maignan, she performed really well. Hats off to her. Just didn't get the decision. Like, early on, Shevchenko just earned that respect straight away. Hit him with those jab kicks and just bloodied Magnan's nose, just absolutely dripping all over the canvas in the first round. And that kind of shook her a little bit. She was like, damn, she was just coming in, Demetrius Johnson calls it the void, closing that gap, and she was just living in the void, getting absolutely peppered early on, and suffered, that I don't know if it was a broken nose, but just straight off the bat, just dripping from the nose. And to be honest, I thought, she's a bit shaken up here. I'm not sure how long this is going to be an ugly night for her, but she recouped, gathered composure, and then started managing that distance really well. Started, closing the void more, a lot more smart, closing that distance and, finding her range. And I think, I'll just check. I believe she got the judges' scorecard in the round 2. Yeah, so she ended up winning round 2. So after a tough start to the fight, she comes in to round 2 and then wins it. She, at the end of the round, she throws an illegal knee. Luckily, Shevchenko blocked it, but Mark Goddard was the ref. It just happened so quick, and it was at the end of the round, and the bell goes. But yeah, again, I wonder what would have happened if that landed flush, because Shevchenko blocked it, but it was a really clear illegal knee on the commentary. They said, that was illegal, and then going into the third, Mark Goddard then goes over to Maignan and warns her, watch your weapons. That was illegal. Again, happened so quick. So yeah, not too critical on Mark Goddard there. A lot of this fight happened in the clinch. A lot of clinch work, a lot of knees, a lot of elbows. And Shevchenko, stand up. Her stand up is really technical. That's how she's made her. That's her bread and butter. And And yeah, she just, so round 3 went, you know, 2 judges had round 3 from Magnon Fiorot. Yeah, it was really competitive again, like both in the clinch, a lot of against the cage. I think Magnon had a lot more control against the cage. Again, damage trumps. So yeah, hence why she didn't get the judges winning her this fight. And then yeah, round 4, Shevchenko gets a late knockdown. So Magnon throws this high kick, and then Shevchenko just follows it with like a double jab or a double cross, and then knocks her down. So optically it looked really bad, but watching it, Magnon's literally on one leg, just copping 2 straight punches. So I didn't think it did too much damage. Like obviously she got knocked down, but it was just purely because of out of position, unbalanced. She was on 2 feet. She's, taking it, no worries. But again, you got to remember what do the judges see? They see what happens first and what happens last. So they always say be first or be last. It's all a lot of judging comes down to what the optics are like sometimes. To go back to boxing, like be first, be last. See what the first exchange is. What happens in the middle of the exchanges sometimes doesn't matter too much. Obviously, you get knocked out, but they're seeing what happens first and obviously what happens last. So again, Shevchenko, she's getting the best of those exchanges at the start and at the end. So that looks good for the judges. And yeah, there was a lot of, so Magnon had Shevchenko up against the cage and just doing a lot of knees to the thigh. So she had her back and just kneeing up into the hammies, the glutes. And yeah, it was pretty interesting because John Anik on the call, he says there's no foot stomps allowed in Canada. And I didn't know that because every country or state has, some different type of rules in the cage. And yeah, no foot stomps allowed. I thought that was quite interesting there by John Anik. And yeah, so Shevchenko edges, she gets to 48-47. People are calling her to now fight Zhang Weili. So for Weili to move up from strawweight, try and get that double champ status and fight Shevchenko. I think that would be a great fight. But yeah, again, Shevchenko doing what Shevchenko does best. Now, this was one of the... Now, moving on to ALDO versus Zahabi. This fight had a lot of people, going, what kind of matchmaking is this? You got a legend, Jose Aldo, considered, the featherweight GOAT, versus this Ayman Zahabi guy who, if it wasn't for his last name, because his brother coach and still coaches at a TriStar, he is most known for coaching George St. Pierre, welterweight GOAT, and one of the greatest fighters of all time. And he's also from Canada. And yeah, people weren't liking this matchup for Jose. They just thought he should just be fighting legends, none of these upcoming guys. And I think it was just because, this guy's from Canada, he's got the Zahabi name, his brother's Varas. And he had George St. Pierre in his corner as well. But yeah, I didn't like this matchup, just out of respect for Jose. And yeah, so Zahabi, he came away with the win. Yeah, it was a really close fight, close decision. It was unanimous, 29-28 for Zahabi, winning rounds 2 and 3. But yeah, it was, I didn't really like this fight. Just, you got these UFC legend Jose Aldo, who ended up retiring as well, which was quite unexpected. And yeah, and he went out, just doesn't sit well with me. And it's funny, a few weeks ago they had a 10-minute, retirement video for Anthony Smith. They say he's a legend of the sport. He's done a lot, yes, not a champ. And then Aldo just puts the gloves down and leaves and doesn't get anything. So, which makes me think The UFC didn't know, because I'm sure if they would have, done something. But yeah, quite a bit of ending for Aldo fans there. But he started off really well. He got that first round. He was, vintage Aldo kicks, with that Muay Thai, just tearing him up. And then it looked like he was trying to conserve or just kind of gas out, because round 2, he didn't throw any kicks. I was like, it just throwing hands, no kicks, low volume. And then, so loses that round. And round 3 was, crazy. So he almost finishes Zahabi. So he's running across the cage, throwing him with all types. He ends up soccer kicking him in the face. So Aldo does a Ronaldo left boot soccer kick to the, kind of grazes a chin into the throat chest of Zahabi. He gets knocked down or falls down 3-4 times, and then Aldo just all of a sudden something just takes over his body, and he just ends up just falling to the ground, and then ends up in full guard on his back and just copping elbows. So Zahabi in the last 2 minutes is just laying in elbows, cuts him open, gets him all bloody. Jose, he just looked gassed, he was like, I can take this damage, it's all good, but he was just gassed. So optics, again, the judges were just forgot about that. He almost killed Zahabi in the first 3 minutes, and in the last 2 minutes, he's just on his back copping it. So you can't win the fight from your back. And so, they all gave that round to Zahabi, and he ends up winning 29-28, and Aldo retires. So it was a tough ending. I've got a feeling he could come back. He just says, I can't do this anymore. I'm just a bit over it. But when you get him matched up with these kind of guys, he's unranked, and he's only there, I think, just because of his last name and his brother, and having George St. Pierre there in his corner. But tough scenes for Aldo fans. And then, moving on to the second last fight of the main card. We had Grasso, former flyweight champ, versus Natalia Silva. Kind of went how I expected. Silva, just great stand-up, tip and tap, point fighter, just from the outside, picking her apart. Grasso just, I think she's definitely a 5-round fighter. The 3 rounds just went away from her, and I don't even think she won a round. 30-27 across the board for Natalia Silva. So Alexa, back to the drawing board for sure. Probably needs to pick up that pace, because she was, she beat Valentina Shevchenko for the title, and then got the draw, and then lost that last one. But I thought hashtag number 1 ranked Grasso against number 5 ranked Silva. Natalia looks to be the next contender. Could be facing Shevchenko next, possibly, but again, with that void, closing the gap, Grasso just couldn't get to Silva. And anytime she tried to, close the gap, go into that void, she just got peppered. Grasso didn't, she tried to mix it up a bit with the grappling, but she was just heavy boxing, not many kicks, and Silva was like, thank you very much, I'm just going to pitter-patter from the outside and get a nice decision win. And now to open the main card, we had Benoit Saint Denis face on a short notice opponent, Kyle Prepelec. So Benoit was supposed to face Alvarez, who pulled out a week or 2 before the fight. So this guy, Canadian native, stepped in on short notice, one of the biggest underdogs, the biggest underdog on the card, and was paying $13. So Benoit gets the round 2 submission arm triangle choke. And I think, it was a great fight, entertaining. A finish was inevitable, just short notice. Benoit did what he could with what he was given, and first round just had a dominant, he just went grappling heavy, just controlled his back pretty much all of round 1, looking for that submission, bit of damage. And then, yeah, round 2, BSD came out and then just let the hands go. A lot of elbows, worked it in the clinch, knees. And was just like, let's just stop mucking around and let's just get him out of here. And then, yeah, takes him down and then gets the arm triangle. But, yeah, watching it though, BSD took shots though. He took unnecessary shots. And his last fight against Honoto Moicano last year in September at UFC Paris main event, I was there, and he just got peppered by Moicano, just got absolutely bashed, and he's just taken unnecessary damage. And so yeah, he's still lacking the defense on the feet, the striking defense. He just seems to be defending with his head. And yeah, that's, as you saw, it's going to be hard once you first face those top 10, top 5 guys, because they're just going to finish it. And like, that's what Dustin Poirier did. That's what Moicano did. And yeah, so I was hoping BSD was going to come in more defensively sound. He got the win, but yeah, it still showed up. He was just still copping unnecessary jabs and damage on the feet. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting what his corner reckons about that, because it was only a small thing, but you know, those top level guys, they see those little things and see if you haven't made improvements on those weaknesses. You know, especially after the past few fights, that's a clear weakness. You know, the striking defense and being sound with blocks and being able to hit without being hit. If you don't make improvements on those clear weaknesses, yeah, you're just going to get. It's going to be interesting for Saint Denis' next fight if he addresses those issues. So yeah, UFC 315. I won't get into the prelims. You know, Navarro Sterling from New Zealand, he got the decision win. There were 2 performance bonuses on the prelims. I wasn't able to watch them. I'll have to go back, but yeah, I was able to watch the main card. And yeah, overall, this fight was not really, if you're a casual, it wasn't like a big sell for the casuals. I think just because of the names, but for the people in the know, they were looking forward to this because there was a lot of technical matchups, a lot of questions to be asked, because the main event, you know, that put the fate on 2 weight divisions, and now we finally have answers to the lightweight, with Ilya most likely facing Charles for their interim, probably at International Fight Week, not confirmed. And now we probably know that Islam's now going to move up to welterweight, which he's been wanting to do for quite some time, because yeah, cutting down the lightweight's not easy for him. He's a weight bully, just like Khabib was, weight bully. Sanction cheating. Everyone does it. So, but yeah, so we finally got questions answered, and you know, especially great for Australian MMA today. We now have 2 belts: Volkanovski, featherweight, and Jack Della in welterweight. So Australia now holds 2 UFC belts. Takes me back to, you know, Bobby Knuckles, and you know, when Volk and Izzy were on that run, just, you know, especially during COVID, you know, they were pretty much the UFC. Those 2 guys, just, they were so active and put the UFC on their back and you know, fighting under that Oceanic region. So yes, Aussie MMA's or Oceanic MMA's in a great spot. Looking forward to that Perth card. And yeah, so see what else. So I think I've pretty much covered it all. That's right. I was thinking of boxing with, I don't know if, I think they still do with main event title fights. They usually play the national anthem. And just, you know, seeing an Australian win today and just imagining, it would be so great, you know, in the octagon before they fight. It would have been awesome to hear that Australian national anthem being played before going in. Like, it just really ups the stakes that much, really gets, people so much more pride and proud of and rooting for someone who's representing their country. I was just thinking, should the UFC play the national anthems for main event title fights? So just the main event, because we did have the co-main, which was a title fight, but I think it'll just drag on if you're doing back-to-back bouts with anthems, because there's an extra 10 minutes, and as you know, UFC they have to, and for the fans as well, we like a strict schedule of just, all right, next fight, get them out, announce them, get going, because it's really easy for the fans to watch, and obviously UFC have a run sheet to abide by for the ESPN. But I was just thinking, Belal, born in Chicago, but he's got that Palestinian, parents or heritage. He's repping the flag. So would have been cool to hear the Australian national anthem with, say, the Palestinian national anthem, or, say JDM was versing a Canadian, or, or Volk when he fought Holloway here in, Diego, sorry, when Volk fought Diego, here in the Mexican anthem and the Australian anthem before their bout. Like, I think it would just add, that much more, build tension and passion and pride into these bouts. But as I said, I see it in boxing, you're kind of just sitting there waiting, going, all right, come on, let's kind of get on with it. But that's only because boxing, they're pretty nonchalant with the way they run their events. They're like, all right, should we get the next fight going? Yeah, sure. Well, all right, let's get them out. Whereas UFC, it's so good. They're just like, all right, they finished. All right, let's get the next guys walking out. So national anthem. What are your thoughts? I think just main event title fights. So you're going to only hear, 12 pay-per-views a year, so one a month or whatever. You're going to hear 12, so 24 national anthems. So I think, like, imagine the American national anthem, T-Mobile Arena. And then you got like the Aussie, or like, when Adesanya fought for titles, hearing that New Zealand national anthem, I think it'll just add that much more hype and intensity to the fight. But so looking ahead, JDM's gonna come back to Perth, do his parade as he should. Keep promoting the sport in Australia. It's slowly building, especially on the regional scene, getting more people involved. JDM, former eternal MMA champ, premier promotion in Australia. So come back, link up with Volk, get back in the gym and start calling for Islam in Perth pay-per-view. Get that fight going, because that's kind of what everyone wants to see. That's what I want to see. That's what Islam wants. If he wants it though, he's got to come back to Perth. No Russia, no Vegas, no Saudi Arabia, none of that. Because it's lifeless in those Abu Dhabi events. You look in there and you're just like, people are there, but you can't hear them. So if you want it, it's got to be in Perth. That's if you want the fight Islam, you got to come to Perth again. And this time we're looking out for those nurses who gave you those who rehydrated you, because all those needle marks, there's a lot of questions after, how we've rehydrated, because you can rehydrate with an IV, but only a certain amount. And it looks like, some rules were bent last time. So Perth, JDM, Islam welterweight bout. And who wins that fight? Basing now, JD, recency bias, Aussie pride, trying to take that biasy out. But I think Islam will go in as a favourite, of course, pound for pound number one. You saw what Volk did to Islam though, and Volk's smaller. So I think it would probably go similar the way the Belal fight went. Just JDM will neutralize the takedown, shock him with some, because Islam fights at lightweight, so he is a smaller guy. Obviously, he's big outside of camp, but one fights at welterweight and the other fights at lightweight. So JDM's going to be the bigger guy, heavy hitter. We haven't seen Islam fight really anyone bigger than him because he's been fighting featherweights, really. So I think, I'm leaning towards Islam just out of respect because, those guys just win. But I think just anyone who's moving up, there's weight classes for a reason. So I think it's going to be Islam's slight favorite. But the more you start breaking it down, I lean towards JDM. Again, trying to take the bias out of it. He just beat a bigger guy who has a similar style, just pressure. Doesn't have that Dagestani grappling Belal, but it's gonna. Like I said, that's why we got to see it. Like it's really a coin toss, but I think with that Mexican ground karate with Craig Jones, JDM has the skills to neutralize the Dagestani in wrestling, and I think his power will be too much for Islam. So I think So we just got to hurry up, book it, Dana. Just book it tomorrow. No Dana at the post-fight press conference. Dave Shaw out. Dave Shaw. Yeah, no Dana. He was at the event, and I'm not sure what that's about, but it was interesting. Sold out 19,000. They always try and say they broke this and that record. They didn't break the unanimous, gate record. They had to say we broke a non-ice hockey event gate record. So they got a record by just taking out ice hockey. So UFC, doing what they do, play the promotion card, got to make it sound good. But it was, been 10 years since they went to Montreal, and it was kind of a weird vibe heading in, just all the political stuff aside. But it was no Joe Rogan. I know he doesn't travel outside of you. Thought it would just be North America, so you'd count Canada. But no Joe Rogan there. That's right. I was trying to remember. DC on the call. Former double champ. DC, we all love him. We all cringe at him sometimes, but keys to victory for Aldo. And this made me laugh. I forgot to mention it, but Aldo's walking out and they had those keys to victory subtitle banner things come up, and DC's got "You're the man" for Aldo. Key to victory, you're the man. And I instantly thought back to Tony Ferguson. I think it was against Paddy Pimblett. And DC had "Remember who you are" for Tony Ferguson. And I just remember seeing that. I've noted that down. DC, Dominic Cruz, who was on the call with him, I remember calling him out for do you even do your research, man? I know he's a busy guy, but coming up with "You're the man" as a key to victory for a legend like Aldo, obviously it speaks for itself, but not keep it standing. I know, use your Muay Thai kicks. Just "You're the man." I just remember thinking back to Tony Ferguson. I think he had David Goggins in his corner as well, so it really just fitted super well with that key to victory, saying "Remember who you are." So I don't think when you're on your back getting elbowed in the face going, key to victory, remember who you are. No, you need solid technique, skill, and strategy as a key to victory. And I think using what's it called, I forgot, Yeah, I forgot. I'll come back to it. But yeah, I thought, yeah, DC on the call was good. Apparently, it was a bit of biasy. I think he wanted Belal. You know, he really biases towards his wrestlers, which, you know, I don't mind because, you know, I think, yeah, he's an Olympic wrestler. You know, he didn't start MMA until he was like in his 30s and then became light heavyweight and heavyweight champ. But yeah, love DC. Obviously, trying to AKA with Cain Velasquez, Khabib. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting because when the wrestling exchanges do happen and they're in positions under overhook, wizards, and you know he needs to get this arm into this position and his head over here, he's really great to listen to, DC. Like, you get a lot of context and insight live while watching, going, oh, this is what he needs to do. But sometimes you're just like, bro, what are you talking about, man? So yeah, that made me really laugh. But yeah, so UFC 315 in the books, JDM and new. Finally, we have answers. Finally, we just not over and done with, but like it's been building up to just like, can we sort out? Because now we can finally know what International Fight Week is most likely going to be. Ilya Topuria says he's in camp. So probably Ilya vs. Charles for International Fight Week, probably announced this week. But yeah, finally it's done. And yeah, so that's UFC 315 done. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.